that has become a moment at which to mobilise against particular asylum seekers and Muslims, and that has continued, after the evidence is that the person isn't either an asylum seeker nor a Muslim, and people can then say, well, children of African migrants, that's part of my argument too, or they can continue to attack asylum seekers and Muslims. So that tells us something about the group reputation of those groups among the people with, potentially far-right views and prejudiced views of them. But it is also that groups have been looking for an attempt to create a flashpoint, particularly around asylum accommodation, for the last several months. They're doing well because they're less organised, and they're harder to police because they're less organised. So historically, you'd have had the National Front, and the National Front, in the 70s and 80s, it was a political party. It was standing for election. It was never getting elected, but might be getting 5 or 10% of the vote here and there, and it was synonymous for British ethnic minorities of that generation with the people who were doing street bashing, street racism as well. They were the same people. They had a political party. The British National Party early in this century, again, it's an organised party in a pre-internet age, and that it's got a political project. It's also quite interested in street violence, or is legitimising that kind of thing. Well, the challenge of, the next week is to visibly demonstrate the police are in control, to visibly demonstrate that you've got a court system that can deliver consequences. And that will be difficult because the prisons are full to overflowing, so you have to make more choices to make that possible. There's also a vacuum when it comes to community policy. And we've got a 25-year pattern of deciding we should have a cohesion policy in the wake of shock events like the riots of 2001 and several things since. But there's been no sustained strategy from the UK government of actually having the policy that works out what is the role of government, what is the role of other people. How do you, get the boundaries right and spread that confidence contact with the people who wouldn't have it.
These thugs that came along and showed an ugly face, and he said to me, yes, look at this is one of them, and he had, if you do that once more. They are.
You could actually mobilise a lot of the people who aren't out on the streets throwing rocks at the police. To what could they do? Conversation clubs, social things. At the moment, I think faith groups get involved. We're quite a secular society now. If you're not part of a faith community, you don't really hear and see how you could step up and get involved. So I think government which hasn't got very much money, if it put the facilitation in place, it could unlock sort of a quarter of the society would probably like to turn up and be that kind of country.
Nazis go off our streets! Nazis go off our streets! Say it loud, say it clear, refugees are welcome here! Say it loud!